All right, so we're going to take a deep dive today into Spanish football. And we're going to be looking at some stuff from Jean Futol. You know him from YouTube. He does some really great breakdowns of El Chiringuito de Ugones, which is a Spanish football show. And he pointed out one recently that had some really interesting things going on. We had Atletico Madrid's big win and the upcoming derby with Real Madrid.
Yeah, there's a lot to unpack in this episode for sure. I think one of the things that is really striking is just the passion. You see it in the accusations of bias against Real Madrid. You see it in sort of the shadow of the Negreira case and just like the general, Atletico Real Madrid rivalry.
Yeah, so let's start with that Atletico win because
Yeah.
that was a big one, 5-0.
Yeah.
You don't see that every day. So what does this tell us about their form going into the derby with Real Madrid?
Yeah. Well, I think it's definitely a statement win. It's not a fluke. It shows that they're playing with a certain aggression and hunger for goals, and I think it's a really interesting choice for them, especially considering like the financial disparity between them and Real Madrid.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive how they're competing at that level, given that they don't spend as much as Real Madrid. But let's talk about Giuliano Simeone's performance. 2 goals in this game, and the fact that he's the coach's son, it makes it even more compelling of a story.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, what a story that is. But what I find really interesting is the way that Diego Simeone reacted to it, kind of like downplaying it a bit, deflecting the praise. Do you think that's an attempt to sort of manage expectations? Maybe protect his son from the spotlight a little?
It's hard to say, but I wouldn't be surprised if that was part of it. I mean, the pressure on a young player in that situation has got to be immense. And then you have that really sweet moment with, the young kid, Alan, who gets Giuliano's jersey after the game and says he wants to dedicate a goal to him. Come on, it's like pure football magic right there.
It really is. I think it speaks to that emotional connection between the fans and the players, especially at a club like Atletico Madrid. And, speaking of that emotional connection, it kind of brings us to this concept of Madriditis, which was a big topic on the show, this idea that Atletico is obsessed with beating Real Madrid.
So for people who maybe aren't super familiar with Spanish football, can you explain what Madriditis is and why it's such a big deal?
Well, I think Madriditis is more than just wanting to win. It's this idea that there's this psychological barrier that Atletico has to overcome in this rivalry with Real Madrid. And we see these two contrasting perspectives. On the one hand, you have the Atletico fans ecstatic after this win. And on the other hand, Real Madrid fans are much more measured in their response. I think it just shows how deeply this rivalry runs, particularly for Atletico. They're playing for more than just points. They're playing for pride, for respect, for a sense of validation.
Yeah, I mean, you can really feel that, the weight of history, the weight of expectation on them every time they step on the field against Real Madrid.
Absolutely, and it's something that we see play out in the media, in the stands, everywhere you look, it's there.
So how does this Madriditis factor into the upcoming derby? I mean, is it going to give Atletico an edge, or is it going to be a burden for them?
That's a great question, and I think it can be both. On the one hand, it can fuel them, it can give them that extra motivation to prove themselves, but on the other hand, if they let the pressure get to them, it can definitely become a burden. It can lead to mistakes, to rash decisions. They need to find a way to harness that passion, but also stay focused and disciplined.
Yeah, it's a delicate balance,
Yeah.
but one that Atletico has managed to strike at times in the past. So we'll see how they handle it this time around. It's definitely going to be a fascinating match to watch.
Absolutely. I can't wait to see how it unfolds.
All right, so we've talked about Atletico's big win and the Madriditis factor, but there's another elephant in the room that we need to address, and that's the Negreira case.
Right, the Negreira case, it's something that continues to cast a shadow over Spanish football. And, it really fuels a lot of the skepticism around refereeing decisions.
Yeah, for those who need a refresher, the Negreira case involves Barcelona and allegations that they pay the vice president of referees for years. So it raises serious questions about the integrity of the league, and it makes people look at every refereeing decision with a suspicious eye.
Exactly. And the episode actually delves into the different opinions on Negreira's actual influence. On one side, you have Medina Cantaleo, who's the current president of referees. He insists that Negreira held no real power, despite evidence that might suggest otherwise. And then you have the commentators on the show who are kind of split. Some believe that Negreira was just a figurehead, while others suspect a deeper conspiracy. It's really interesting to consider, how much weight should we give to Cantalejo's statements giving his position, and how do we interpret the evidence that's being presented?
Yeah, it's a tough one to unpack.
Yeah.
And it's definitely divided opinions. But maybe we could shift gears for a second and talk about another controversial refereeing incident.
Okay.
That sparked outrage from Real Madrid. They were furious about a non-red card that was given to Romero for a foul on Mbappe in the PSG-Real Madrid match.
Yeah, Real Madrid's reaction to that was pretty telling. They sent a very strongly worded letter to the Federation, accusing the referees of corruption, and demanding access to the audio recordings from VAR, basically saying, prove to us that this wasn't rigged.
Wow. But Camileo held firm. He refused to release the audio to Real Madrid and emphasized the need for respect and calm. So it feels like there's a real clash of perspectives here.
Absolutely. Real Madrid feels like they're being treated unfairly, and the referees are trying to maintain their authority and protect the integrity of their decision-making process. So it begs the question, how much transparency is actually good? Does releasing the audio really clarify things, or does it just open the door to even more speculation and conspiracy theories?
Yeah, it's a slippery slope for sure. On the one hand, you want to trust the referees and the system, but on the other hand, when incidents like this happen, it's hard not to question things.
I think it's a natural reaction, especially when you have so much at stake. You know, in a competition as intense as La Liga.
Right, and speaking of intense competition, let's talk about Cristiano Ronaldo, a legend who knows a thing or two about achieving success at the highest level. Even though he's no longer with Real Madrid, I think his perspective is always valuable.
Yeah, absolutely. And what really struck me about his comments was just his unwavering confidence. He declared himself the most complete player in history. And you know what? He has the stats and the trophies to back it up. He built his career on incredible skill set and just the superhuman dedication to his craft.
Yeah, Ronaldo's work ethic is legendary. He talks about the importance of recovery alongside training, showing that true success comes from this holistic approach. And I found his thoughts on what makes a great coach really insightful. Especially coming from someone who's worked with some of the best in the world. He's been there, done that.
Right, he's not just talking theory, he's speaking from experience. And what I find fascinating is he didn't just focus on technical skills or tactical brilliance. He highlighted the importance of a coach's ability to motivate, to inspire, to create a winning mentality within a team. So it's clear that he values that human element of the game just as much as the physical and tactical aspects.
Yeah. It's a good reminder that football at its core is about people, about passion, about the emotions that connect players, coaches, and fans. And speaking of passion, let's bring it back to the current state of Spanish football. We've got a title race heating up, a rivalry reaching a boiling point, and a refereeing scandal that refuses to die down. So what are your thoughts on what the future holds? I mean, it feels like we're on the edge of our seats with everything that's going on.
Yeah, it feels like we're at a real crossroads, with so much uncertainty.
Will the Negreira case ever truly be resolved? I mean, can Atletico maintain this momentum and challenge for the title? And are we going to see even more controversy surrounding these refereeing decisions?
Those are the big questions, right? One thing's for sure, though, Spanish football never disappoints when it comes to drama. And I think this upcoming meeting between the clubs and the referees could be a real turning point. Will Real Madrid actually show up and voice their concerns directly? Or will they stick to these public statements and legal action?
Yeah, that meeting's going to be interesting to watch for sure. And you know what else I'm keeping an eye on? John Futol's YouTube channel. He's been breaking down all these latest twists and turns, and his analysis is always spot on. So if you haven't subscribed yet, you're missing out. Hit that notification bell so you don't miss any of his updates.
Yeah, he's a fantastic resource for anyone who wants to stay informed and really understand the nuances of Spanish football. He cuts through the noise and presents the facts in a way that's both informative and engaging.
Yeah, I totally agree. Well, I think that about wraps up our deep dive into the passionate and often chaotic world of Spanish football. We've covered a lot today, from Atletico's stunning victory in the upcoming derby to the lingering Negreira case and this whole debate about refereeing transparency.
It's been a really fascinating discussion, and I think it highlights how much more there is to football than just what happens on the pitch. It's this complex ecosystem of rivalries, emotions, and controversies, and that's what makes it so captivating.
Absolutely. So thanks for joining us on this journey, and until next time, keep that passion for the beautiful game burning bright.
And remember, the best way to enjoy football is with a critical eye, an open mind, and a healthy dose of skepticism.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Hello, if you are listening to this, you may not be subscribed to the channel. Activate the bell so that they will notify you when there is a new story. And share with the people you want. I thank you from the bottom of my heart.
It really is, and it makes you wonder, will we ever really get to the bottom of the Negreira case?
Yeah. Right. Is there even a bottom?
Yeah.
And what about Atletico? Can they keep this up and really make a run at the title.
Well, that's the big question, isn't it? I mean, they've looked incredible lately, but can they sustain it over the course of a whole season? And then you have the whole refereeing situation. It feels like every match is a potential powder keg waiting to explode.
Absolutely. And I think that's part of what makes Spanish football so compelling. You just never know what's going to happen next. And you know what else adds to the intrigue? I think John Futol's coverage on his YouTube channel is fantastic. I mean, he really gets into the nitty-gritty of all this stuff. If you're not already subscribed, I highly recommend checking him out.
Oh, yeah. He's a must-follow for any Spanish football fan.
Yeah.
He does a great job of explaining the context and the background behind all these stories.
Exactly. So I think that about wraps up our deep dive into the world of Spanish football. It's been a wild ride, but I wouldn't have it any other way.
Me neither. This is why we love the beautiful game.
Well said. So until next time, folks, keep the passion alive, and don't forget to subscribe to Jun Futol's channel for all the latest insights.
And remember, keep your eyes open and your mind sharp. There's always more to the story than meets the eye.
Hello, if you are listening to this, you may not be subscribed to the channel. Activate the bell so that they will notify you when there is a new story, and share it with the people you want. I thank you from the bottom of my heart.